Good morning. It is time for Wordplay Wednesday. Thank you for joining me here today. We are going to be looking at 3 words from the story Rumpelstiltskin, which is from the latest episode of Saturday Stories. If you have not had a chance to listen to Saturday Stories, I invite you to do so. And you can, let me just get this. There we go. You will, if you search for Saturday Stories, look for season 4, episode 2. This is the story of Rumpelstiltskin. It is a fun story about this greedy little man and how he gets what's coming to him. We have a few words from this story. The first word we're going to look at is trembling. We're just diving right in. Let's talk about some words we can add to our vocabulary. Trembling, to shake slightly because you were afraid, nervous, excited, these kind of emotions. So it's not like full on, it's just this light shaking slightly. Now let's see how the author uses it in the story. This is a Grimm's Brothers fairy tale, and let's see what they have to say. He led the maiden to a still larger chamber, which was full of straw. So now what's happened is we have this maiden from the village, and her father kind of oversold her skills and talents and said she could turn straw into gold. And the king is thinking, this is a good deal. So he's leading her into this large chamber. She's done this once. Now she has to do it again. Turning to the trembling girl. So there she is, slightly shaking. He said, "There is your spinning wheel, and here is your straw. If you do not spin all of it into gold by morning, you will die." I'd be trembling too. Oops. Here we go. The maiden's eyes filled with tears at the sight of that heap of straw. Sitting down, she began to cry. So what I always like to do is explore how the authors are using the words. So we have trembling, and let's see if that matches something else. We always want our words in the paragraph or in the scene to be congruent. We want them to fit together. So we have the trembling girl. We saw that her eyes were filled with tears. So that fits with the trembling, because when you're trembling, you're afraid, nervous, or excited. In this case, she's afraid. So the tears make sense. And sitting down, she began to cry. So first her eyes filled with tears, and then she began to cry. So all of these things fit together. The author used the word in a way that it makes sense, and it doesn't make us think, oh, well, that's kind of weird. Sometimes when you read things, and this is how you can check your own writing too, see the word that you're going to put in and see if it makes sense with the underlying feeling and emotion and other words in the paragraph. And if it does, it's going to make the whole thing stronger. Here's where you can use it in the real world. My voice trembled as I began to speak. This might be something you can use to describe yourself if you're not really loving public speaking and you have to do a presentation for work or school or something, and you're talking to somebody. You could say, my voice trembled as I began to speak, which would be correct. Trembled, again, it's shaking slightly because you're afraid or nervous. Your knees were probably trembling too. But here, my voice trembled as I began to speak. Here are some synonyms, some words that we might be able to use instead of tremble. We could say tremble, trembled, trembling, depending how we need to use the word in the sentence. What about shake? Shake seems to be a bigger movement. If we said, turning to the shaking girl, in my mind, the picture is more the movement is more visible. So we might not want to use that. Quiver, I always think about a quivering lip. Just before somebody cries, if you've ever seen a 2-year-old who doesn't get what they want and their eyes are filling with tears and their lip is quivering and they're going to start crying, and you think, no, don't start crying. That's what I think of when I think of quiver. So we could use it there in the story, turning to the quivering girl, and then later her eyes are filling with tears. But perhaps you would use quiver later or in relation to something else after you've got the whole crying thing going on. Twitch. Twitch is more like a sudden movement that happens occasionally if somebody has a twitch, or maybe something is going on and you're kind of nervous and you just twitch every now and again, which doesn't seem to fit that context in the story. Quaver. Okay, we have quiver, we have quaver. Tremor. Tremor, again, is this fine shaking movement. Sometimes we think of this word, I just thought of this, when you think of an earthquake, sometimes they say there was a tremor. So it's this slight shake. So there are some words we can use instead of tremble. Let's move on. Our next word is greedy. Perhaps you've known somebody who is greedy, having or showing a selfish desire to have more of something. They always want more, more, more. It's never enough. They always want more. There are rich people that are greedy. There are poor people that are greedy. People in general. It doesn't matter what your station or socioeconomic standing, whatever. Anybody can be greedy because it's this selfish desire to have more of something. When the king opened the door, his eyes glistened at the sight of the gold. Still, it only made him greedy for more. So taking the poor girl by the hand, he led her to a much larger chamber. It was so full of straw that there was hardly room for her to sit at the spinning wheel. There is the greedy king. She had turned a little bit of straw into gold. Well, not her, but Rumpelstiltskin. And then she had done it again with a larger amount of straw. And now the king thought, oh my goodness, I can just have more and more. Again, it's this selfish desire. He didn't want it to better the life of the people in his kingdom. He didn't want it for any good. He just wanted more for himself. He was very greedy. There's no need to get greedy. There's plenty for everyone. This is something that maybe you have heard somebody say. Maybe you have said it to somebody. Often when we're thinking about our children, maybe are greedy, if you have children, and they just want more and more, and they never seem to be satisfied. And you say, there's no need to be greedy. There's plenty for everyone. We have pizza. It's a pizza night, and they start taking 5 pieces of pizza. And you say, there's no need to get greedy. There's plenty for everyone. You're not going to run out. But again, greedy being that I just need more for me. Here are some synonyms for greedy, grasping. So you're always wanting more. However, if I used that word, if the author had used it here, still it only made him grasp for more. It doesn't quite have the same impact. However, you could use that. Sometimes we say people are grasping at straws. They're trying to make something work, which is different than being greedy. Avaricious. This is more to do with money. We could use that word there. Made him avaricious. So taking the poor girl by the hand. So you wouldn't say greedy or avaricious for more necessarily. Possessive. Possessive seems to mean what you have, you're keeping close and you don't want to share. Covetous, your neighbor has something and you want it. You think it should be yours. Materialistic, I just want more stuff, more stuff. What if we tried that word here? Still, it only made him more materialistic. Well, he's just wanting this straw into gold. If he had been wanting new trinkets for his castle, then we could say still it made him more materialistic. He wanted more trinkets for his castle. But because it's talking about getting more gold, the greedy seems to make sense. Good word choice. The third word we're going to look at this morning is mourn. To feel or show great sadness or unhappiness about something. And the second meaning, slightly different or more, is to feel or show great sadness because someone has died. So mourning doesn't always have to be because someone has died. Sometimes it can be you have lost something. You're showing great sadness or unhappiness because of something. Now, this poor girl whose father had brought her here to the king said, yes, you need to spin this into gold. She did it 3 times. Rumpelstiltskin did. And now she's queen, and she had promised her firstborn to Rumpelstiltskin if he could take this big heap of straw and turn it into gold, which he had done, but she had forgotten about this promise. So here we have the queen filled with terror and offered the little man all the riches of the kingdom if he would leave her the child. So now he's reminding her, hey, you promised me your firstborn. Ever feel like that? And she says, anything except for that. No, I do not care for riches. You must keep your promise. Then the queen began to mourn and to weep until the little man pitied her. I will give you 3 days, he said. And if in that time you can guess my name, you will keep your child. So he is making a bargain here, bargaining with her. Now let's see how the word mourn fits with all the other words to see, to make this strong paragraph or scene. So the queen was filled with terror. So already we have this feeling of fear, and she's offering the little man all the riches. And he says, I don't care. So we see what she is giving up, and she begins to mourn. And I don't think mourn is too strong a word, because we can have it great sadness or unhappiness about something. She totally is unhappy that she has to give up her child. And it's almost as if if she had to give it up, it would be like her child had died. So either way, this word mourn fits beautifully here. And then we have, she began to weep. So if you're really super sad about something, then weeping makes sense. And then he sort of relents. He pitied her. And he said, I'll give you 3 days. Now let's see what other words we could use instead of mourn. Actually, let's talk about how we could use this in the real world first. He still mourns the fact that he never went to college. He felt really sad or unhappy about the fact that he never went to college. What things in your life do you mourn? Opportunities lost. She was mourned by everyone who knew her. So if somebody died and you're talking about them, you could say, she was mourned by everyone who knew her. So everyone who knew her was sad because she died, is the essence of what it's saying. So you can use mourn in those two contexts. Here we go. Bewail or bemoan. So you're mourning, you're very sad, upset about something. So we could say bemoan or bewail. Then the queen began to bewail. We probably wouldn't have weep in there then, until the little man pitied her. Could work. What about regret? So regret, we wish something hadn't happened. We're sad about something that we did or a missed opportunity. However, I believe that the queen was more than regretful. If we said, then the queen began to regret that she had ever said that she would give up her firstborn child, regret doesn't seem strong enough. Rue. Again, rue is kind of like regret. You regret that. Ruing is the regretting of that you have done something, and deplore your not liking how things have gone. So either of those don't really fit there very well. Mourn seems to be the best word for this situation. Let's do a little recap. We have 3 words: trembling, to shake slightly because you are afraid, nervous, or excited. Greedy, having or showing a selfish desire to have more of something. And then mourn, feeling or showing great sadness or unhappiness about something or because someone has died. I'd like to invite you to explore things in this story further with the 7-sentence story workshop. And in this workshop, we're going to go through the writing process in about 45 minutes. Think, write, revise. We're going to be using the story of Rumpelstiltskin to help us write this story. We'll do the outlining, we'll do the writing, and we'll do the revising. And this will help you improve your writing skills, your thinking skills, and we'll be able to use some of these vocabulary words, some of these chocolate words, these words from Wordplay Wednesday in that story. Thank you for joining me today for Wordplay Wednesday. Until next time, keep reading and writing.